Hi, Ry.
Hi.
Um, I don't know how to pronounce your birthplace, but what's
Angari, yeah.
Angari. Um, well, I checked it. It's I think a few hundred of people living
Yeah.
there. What was it like growing up over there?
Yeah, it's hard to describe sometimes to people that grow up in a city. You know, it's what I was used to, so it was home for me. I didn't know anything else. Now, in retrospect, I understand how much space I had and how much time. You know, I used to wake up in the morning and I could see the surf from my window and just grab a board. I'd sleep in my board shorts, you know, and then wake up still in your board shorts, no shoes. And you just run down and you'd surf by yourself with dolphins. And it's nice. There was a lot of time spent alone, you know, and there's a lot of time to think and a lot of time to kind of contemplate, I guess. And I think for me, it became a big influence on like creativity because there wasn't a lot of people, there wasn't cities, there wasn't entertainment, you know. So I had to learn to use my mind and imagine things, and I started creating from that place, I think.
And were there many children around there?
I mean, my school that I went to, my elementary school, had 11 children in the whole school, so it was small. But I think more than having a lot of people is the relationships you have. You can have 1,000 friends, but if you don't have a close relationship with either of them, then it's not really fulfilling. And for me, I had such deeply close relationships with the friends, and so it was very much about us always being together. I used to ride my little BMX. There was no speeds, you know. The tires were always kind of flat, and I would ride to my friend's house, and it was like 9 kilometers away. So it'd take me a whole day to get over there, you know, and that was one of my closest friends lived 9 kilometers away. So it was a little bit like that, and then you go and you'd stay the night, and I had the most beautiful close friends, and a sister as well, older sister. So I grew up knowing maybe what real relationships were about, what love was about.
And it was pre-internet. So
Yeah.
what sort of music did you listen to, or what sort of music did reach you?
I thought vinyl was like the new high-tech thing when I was a kid, you know, and tapes were around and the CDs weren't long after that, but my dad just had vinyl, so I thought that's what was current. I didn't know that was from the 60s and 70s, you know. So I listened to a lot of vinyl because my dad had it, and I learned to, kind of from the album covers, I would like look at the face of a Joni Mitchell and go, oh, that looks good. Let's put it on. Let's see what it sounds like. You know, oh, Frank Zappa, that guy looks crazy. Let's put it on. Yep, no, he's definitely crazy. Right. So I learned to understand music just through exploring, and I think I still a little bit have the same perspective on it.
Were there certain albums, vinyl, that you listened more to, that you were really into from your dad's collection?
Yeah, I really got into like a folk scene when I was young, and Motown. I really got into like bands like War and Marvin Gaye, Al Green. So and for Australia it's different because there's no like African American culture in Australia. So it's quite strange to grow up as a little white kid in Australia listening to Motown. But I think it's how it helped me understand soul music. And then when I was in my teens, I really got into grunge. And that was really defining for me. You know, my first CD that I ever owned was Nirvana.
And why was that defining for you?
Because it was so free. It was like the rawest emotion. It made, like as a young teenager, you know, I was living in this beautiful idyllic surf hippie life kind of, and yet here I heard this music from Seattle in the United States and these places that had such like, not even aggression, just pure power. And for me it was like, yeah, I want that. I want to know what that is. How do I get to that?
Could you relate to it?
Yeah. I think that's why the scenes in music are so strong. You look at like the hip hop culture, or you look at grunge, you look at the modern day kind of movements of the reintegration of house and techno after it began in Detroit and Berlin. It's because people can relate to it. That's why it catches on. And I think all teenagers have these same or similar experiences, similar emotions, and we might not know how to release it. And then suddenly you hear something and you go, there it is. I can release it with that. So I had long hair, and I was like long blonde hair from surfing, but I painted my nails black, and I started singing in grunge bands, and punk bands. So it was a way to let go, a way to release and break the mold.
But was that the same time that you actually started making music yourself? I mean, with grunge, with Nirvana, and then singing in the grunge bands.
It was. That's when I started, and I was like, it was a time. It was the '90s, so it's like, I guess it was the '90s, almost the 2000s. So for me, it was like my shirt was off, and I was headbanging and screaming in a microphone. And then something happened when I was about, I was doing that from like 13 to 15. And then when I was about 15 or 16, I found artists like Jeff Buckley and...
But how? Can you describe that moment?
Finding Jeff Buckley?
Yeah, were you looking for something, or did your dad have it, or?
No, it was like one of my first real girlfriends, and she'd had it somehow, and she put it on, and it was that moment of defining not just a relationship at that time in your life. And it was one of the first times I'd heard the same energy from grunge delivered in the most pure and gentle way, and I realized at that moment that you can carry as much weight singing very quietly and playing very quietly as you can carry with huge stacks and distortion on a guitar. It's about the song, and it's about the rawness of the emotion. And so hearing that allowed me to move much more in a direction which was where I wanted to be, which was to sit in a quiet space and to have that same power, but without the need to blast people away.
Why was that where you wanted to be?
I think it made sense, like where I grew up, in all that space and that quiet. I didn't have a lot of people to play music with. I spent a lot of time alone or just with very few people, and to be able to sit and play music with yourself and to be able to connect to your own emotions and to be able to be very raw and very intimate with that, with yourself.
Was it hard to learn that, to really do?
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean you could say Kurt Cobain and Jeff Buckley, they didn't have some sort of filter when they sang.
Yeah.
And was it hard for you to get rid of all that filter and to really be yourself in your music? Yeah,
I had to do it a few times. I had to make mistakes. I had to, it was an accident that I'm in the music industry, to begin with. I was kind of found in Costa Rica on the beach, on the streets, playing there, and taken back to LA. But then I went down a path that I didn't quite understand, and it wasn't honest in a way. And I had to leave that behind and learn that honesty. But I think you talk about Kurt or Jeff, these kind of characters in history, what they had was a relationship with people, not the industry. And I realized that was the defining moment for me, that I could communicate directly to somebody, to you guys in the room, without having to have the industry sell the story. Yeah. And that was a very freeing moment. And I'm very passionate about that now. It's a freeing moment. Was there one defining moment? Can you take us to that moment? Yeah, I think probably one of the most defining moments which consolidated it for me was I left the music industry. I moved to Bali for a while in Indonesia, and I was surfing, and I made a conscious choice at that moment to be much more spiritually inclined. I was doing a lot of yoga, meditation, and I just didn't want to be part of the music industry at all, the business of selling music. So I kind of left my record label at the time, my management, my agents. I just, sabbatical, I left. And I started writing music for myself, and I began this relationship with this guy, Frank Wiedemann, in Berlin, and we started a song together called Howling. And I sent him a demo, this thing that I'd done, very personal, and sent it to him. And he said, oh, look, I did a few things, and I played it already in a club last night in Berlin. And people went crazy. And I was like, what, you already played it? And he goes, I just played it, and people loved it, And it was suddenly this moment, and he said, can we put it out? Let's put it out. And it was this moment of realizing that you don't have to have a record label. You don't have to have these people trying to sell something. All you have to do is create music from your heart, or art, whatever the art is, and give it to people.
But once he said that he played it in a club to people, can you, in what circumstances, under what circumstances did you write Harling?
Oh, that's the thing, it's very personal. I write all my music now from such a personal place. So it was about a relationship. It was about this one specific night in the end of a relationship. And a partner, my girlfriend at the time, was about to go into rehab, in this very strange, emotional period of life. And I was writing directly about those moments and those experiences. And I think when you write from your heart like that and you remove the filters like you talked about, people can resonate with it, they can connect to it. Yeah. Even though they might not be in the same position, they understand the emotions that are involved, because we're all humans and we all have the same set of emotions.
Is it hard to stay that connected, true to yourself?
Not anymore, because once you see that you can be honest and be yourself completely, even if it's hard for people, it's very liberating, and it allows you to walk into a room, and if you don't like the music playing, you just say, hey, someone says, what do you think about this? This is a cool little thing, should we write with it? I'm like, it doesn't get in, there's no emotional connection. And that's, I think, in my collaborating with the Acid or with Frank in Howling, that's what defines everything that I do now, is that sense of honesty and rawness. And once you build that relationship of trust with yourself, it's much easier to continue it, and to, even for me, like with this Ry album, to write something that didn't belong on the radio, there's no hits really on it, and to stand there with the record labels that wanted to be involved and say, look, to the big record labels, no, I don't want to be with you, and then to the small labels, okay, let's talk. This is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it. I'm going to make a record, I want to make it from my heart, and I want to give it to you, and then we're going to share it together. And when you can have that sense of sincerity, or you call it, no filters, it's a very powerful thing.